and call out people when they're lying, you know, that's better off than most of these people who are just professional liars. Right, so we need to have courage. We need to have that ability to no longer be afraid of saying what we believe. I think actually someone who has done that to a great extent is right down here, Mr. Chris Cantwell. Chris, I don't agree with a lot of what you say. Right, and that's the point. And that's what free speech is about, right? The fact that we can all get together here and we can not be afraid of being labeled, oh, I'm going to be labeled a racist. I'm going to be labeled as you know, some scary buzzword. Guys, racist is not a real word. Racist is not a real word. Racist is a word that the left uses to demonize somebody who says things they find to be politically inconvenient. You say something scary, you say something, oh, we need to get rid of illegals. Oh, what are you, a racist? Well, no, I'm not a racist. Oh, they'll use it to attack and demonize people, and it doesn't mean anything. And we've seen that this past year with President Trump. President Trump was called a racist, a bigot, a fascist, all of these scary words. Fascist is a real word, but in all of these scary words, and people still voted for him. It doesn't matter. We can't be afraid of, oh, the SPLC will say a mean thing about me if I tweet the wrong thing. We can't be afraid of that anymore. And I think to a large degree, we're not afraid of that anymore. So people like Chris, I applaud because they come to conclusions, they think independently, and they are not afraid to express what they think politically, even if they know it might cost me listeners, it might cost me viewers. And even though we're not all pundits, we don't all run media platforms or personalities or whatever, we need to do that in our personal lives. When we're having conversations with our friends, you know, if we want to talk about something like, you know, like IQ, for example. It's a very touchy subject, I know. But we can't be afraid of being afraid of science anymore, of being afraid of these scary things. Because only when we come to the truth, and only when we can operate on the truth, will we see real change. And only when we base our political action on the truth and apply courage to that, will we ever be able to change politicians, will we ever be able to change our country. Only then will we be able to truly make America great again, which is, I think, what we all want. But we need to pressure our politicians, and we need to pressure President Trump. Come back to us. You know, we're the ones who got you elected. Come back to your base. Do what your base wants you to do. We need to build the wall. We need to deport the illegals. And we need to make America great again. Thank you, guys. We got a great list of speakers tonight. We got, you know, fantastic speakers. So stick around. It's going to be awesome. Thank you all for coming out. I admire your courage. Thank you.
Good morning, Washington, D.C. My name is Augustus Invictus. I'm a Southerner. I always say I'm American by birth, but Southern by the grace of God. This is my first speech in Washington, D.C. So it's a little strange to be speaking at the Lincoln Memorial, of all places.
John Wilkes Booth did nothing wrong.
Yeah, well, as much as you might hate Lincoln the tyrant, as a Southerner, as much as you might hate William Tecumseh Sherman for burning down Atlanta and murdering innocents and all the rest, the fact is that there were a lot of radicals back then that wanted all of our officers hanged. They passed an entire amendment to disenfranchise our officers so that they could never run for public office again. But the Confederate officers were not hanged because of Lincoln. Few people know that fact, but Lincoln said the war is over. The Confederates are our brothers. They are now back in the Union, and there is no reason to hang these men. Let's let them go on with their lives. So Lincoln, despite being a symbol of disunity and civil war, is ironically also a symbol of unity. And for the past few months, all I've been talking about is unite the right, 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 until you're blue in the face. And then something like this happens, where we have two separate rallies, people dropping out, people pissing all over each other, ego contest, dick measuring, and all the other things that are unsafe for children's ears. I'm very upset about that fact. I think it is a failure of leadership. I think what we need in the right wing is unity. And really the trick to that is not hitting each other. You don't have to like each other. You don't have to join Identity Europa. You don't have to be alt-right. I'm not alt-right. Irma's not alt-right. You just have to stop attacking each other. There are very real enemies. The Antifa used to be a real enemy. But I tell you what, I'm gonna wait for this plane to pass. The Antifa used to be a real enemy. But I have been coming to these free speech rallies for months now. I've been all over the South. I've been to Boston. I've been here. We got Texas next week. These free speech rallies are happening all across the country. And the leftists do nothing. The radical left says, we're going to bash the fash. We're going to beat all these people to death. These Nazis have to be stopped. They're up there on that hill yelling, Nazi, Nazi, Nazi. And the crowd responds, no, no, no. Like children in timeout. They're screaming up in their room, and none of y'all can even hear them. But they threaten you with violence, and they'll jump you on the way back to your car. But we all know how cowardly they are. Otherwise, they'd be down here. Yeah, the cops put up a blockade. They could easily walk around it. Come down that way, come down that way, but you know what they're going to do? They're going to sit on that hill, and they're going to act like they won the day because they shouted louder. That's how cowards act. There is no more threat from the radical left. They are done. And that is why we have devolved to infighting. That is why we are now all attacking each other. Alt-right versus alt-right versus civic nationalists versus white nationalists versus Republicans versus libertarians versus Proud Boys versus alt-knights. No one has a common enemy anymore, so we're all fighting amongst each other. But the fact is, we do have a common enemy. We started out with one, it still exists, and it's right here. You have an enemy in the Federal Reserve, a private bank that controls your economy. You have an enemy in the federal government, which is controlled by a deep state. You have an enemy in the lobbyists, the special interests that control our foreign policy. You have enemies in individuals like the Clintons, like Soros. These people still exist. And yet here you are, fighting amongst yourselves. Because one person's a Western chauvinist and the other is a white nationalist. How constructive is that? I want to tell you about a story because, in my experience, stories are the best way to get information across. So let me tell you about the time that I announced that I was running for the United States Senate down in Florida. And a bunch of people said, we can't let that fascist, Nazi, pagan, devil-worshipping, blood-drinking monster run for office under our banner. Let's attack him. And you know what that did for the Libertarian Party? It destroyed the Libertarian Party in Florida. Because you cannot pretend to care about free speech when you are trying to shut down free speech. You cannot pretend to care about the freedom of assembly when you are telling people they cannot associate with people like Richard Spencer, or Augustus Invictus, or Chris Cantwell, or anyone else because they're too radical. That is not the freedom of assembly that we are guaranteed in this country. The Libertarian Party attacked because of my religion. You cannot pretend to be the party that stands for freedom of religion when you're attacking someone for not being Christian. Simply not constructive. And they bashed their head against that stone and the party broke. And here I am. Nothing happened to me. You attack people like Richard Spencer or even Jack Posobiec, and all you're doing is hurting yourself. What we need to do is come together, and I urge you to learn from the Libertarian Party's own mistakes. And we got people who are ordered not to be here. People like the Proud Boys. But I'm a Proud Boy, and I'm right here. The alt-knights are here. I'm one of the national organizers. There are Republicans here.
Freedom of
There
speech,
are libertarians
baby.
here.
Freedom of speech.
There are even leftists here in your ranks because they think they're slick sneaking in here like we don't know who they are. Like this guy. I mean, honestly, who do you think you are kidding? This is a war. It is not the sort of war that Lincoln fought. This is a new sort of war. Both sides have intelligence operations. Both sides are under the threat of the knife. And both sides seek to infiltrate. But only one side seeks to act like children. And that's the left. So, all in all, what I'm asking for is for all of you to stop attacking each other. I've been around, here's another story. I've been around DC the past few days because we come in and we do surveillance and we talk about security and we prepare for these sorts of rallies so that no one gets hurt.
Hey, we get it. You're a lesbian.
Black power! Lesbians aren't real!
So we were driving in the Uber and the woman said, what we need is for the nation to come together. Are the police taking these people out, or can we do it ourselves?
Augustus Invictus. Augustus Invictus is speaking. You can find him on Facebook, Augustus Invictus.
Take a shower! 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 County stuff off our streets! 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 County stuff off our streets!
They are not saying that. They are saying commie scum off our streets.
Off our streets! County scum!
Augustus Invictus and I are not alt-right. We are here in the name of freedom of speech. Speak!
That is a small example of what you should be doing. Fuck the communists. Go after them. Throw them out of here. Get a fucking helicopter and throw the fucking communists out. Somebody go get a helicopter and take that piece of shit up in the air and drop it. We've had enough of your fucking bullshit. You go back up the fucking steps to talk that Stalinist nonsense. So this is what you should be doing. Not fighting amongst yourselves, but fighting against the communists. Free rides for commies. Thank you for that sign, my man. You should not be fighting amongst yourselves. You should be fighting with the media. All these fucking leeches. These rats. They come here with their cameras to film you. Because you are the new attraction. You are entertainment to them. You sell. This is not a movement for entertainment. This is a movement for revolution. So get yourselves armed. Make your blacklist of the media. And buy a fucking helicopter. Thank you.
Thank you, Augustus. Great speech. Whoa. My name is Jason Kessler. I'm a freelance journalist with VDare. I've written for Daily Caller, Got News, and on my website, jasonkessler.net. Let me tell you, I'm a proud Southern man. And when I was told that I was going to be speaking in front of the Lincoln Monument, I made sure I had this flag with me. Because Lincoln was a traitor. Our entire country would be better off if the South had won the Civil War. Lincoln was no great emancipator. All he did was free the slaves in the South to punish the Southern
Not
people.
yet. I haven't spoken.
It took another amendment to the Constitution to end slavery for all people. Let me tell you,
but you can find him on
Semper
Facebook,
Tyrannis.
Augustus Invictus.
Fuck you, Abraham Lincoln.
Whoa, spicy freedom of speech, guys. Controversial as hell.
And now
Get ready.
these same carpetbagging cowards that call us racist are trying to tear down our monuments, tear down our history.
Woo.
That is our speech.
Get ready,
They are not
a few more
satisfied taking away our speech in the present day. They want to take away the speech of our ancestors as well. The monuments that were erected to our people, Robert E. Lee, Thomas Jefferson, George Washington. They took down Christopher Columbus in Pepperdine University. We are not going to stand for that. And I didn't just come out to a free speech rally to say, rah, rah, my Constitution. When you're talking about free speech, you're talking about controversial speakers. That's why I'm happy to stand here with Richard Spencer. I'm happy to stand here with Mike Enoch. I'm happy to be here with Baked Alaska and Augustus Invictus, James Alsop, and everybody else. And I thank Colton for setting up this event and standing by his principles when the alt-right tried to shut it down. That event they're doing in front of the White House is not an against violence rally. It's an anti-speech rally. Because as soon as they saw there were speakers that they didn't agree with, they said shut it down. They said let's go and try and silence and deplatform them, just like leftists do. Laura Loomer set up that Free Laura website before she'd even gone and done that thing, shouting down people who we may not agree with, but hey, they have a right to their speech. What the left does is they go and scream in people's faces when they're trying to speak. That's what the left does. We respect people's free speech rights. In my hometown, Richard Spencer, the alt-right, and hundreds of people from around the country came. They held some tiki torches and they did a little rally you guys might have heard of. After that rally was over, the radical left started following conservatives of all stripes. People who are black, people who are white, Trump supporters, white advocates, just normal people. Following them around when they're trying to eat dinner with their children. Going to their homes,
freedom of speech,
calling their places of business and trying to get them fired. Maybe that's legal,
very controversial,
but it's not in keeping with the spirit of the First Amendment.
Can you deal with it?
The First Amendment is not just a law that is there to protect us from persecution from the government. If we cannot protect ourselves from persecution by the liberal media and by Antifa and left-wing radicals who are going to harass us, try and break up our marriages, try and get us banned from restaurants, get us fired from our jobs, then what good does that First Amendment do? We have to push back against that, and that's why each of you who's come out here today, instead of one of these other left-wing rallies that are happening today, is a hero. Because when you stand up for yourself and you stand out in public and show that you're not scared, that takes away their power.
Yeah!
That's the only weapon they have, is that fear that they try and put into you. They try and make you say, oh, I'm afraid of being called a racist. I'm going to lose my job. You know, maybe my wife is going to give me shit. You know, maybe these people are going to come by my house and yell at me. Maybe I'll get recognized in public. I can't go anywhere in my hometown without these motherfucking radical communists following me everywhere and hounding me. I didn't back down. What I did was I said, okay, you didn't like the fact that the alt-right came to Charlottesville? Well, I'm going to bring back the alt-right, and I'm going to bring the alt-right and anyone who's brave enough to stand together against censorship of free speech, and we're going to have a bigger rally on August 12th. Unite the right! 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 You know, I'm a big fan of stand-up comedy. I really like some of the guys in the past, whether it's George Carlin or even Lenny Bruce, who got arrested for their speech. It was called lewd and it was called obscene, and that's where we are today. George Carlin used to have a skit where he said the 7 words you can't say on TV. Those words were like shit, fuck, ass, tits, whatever. his daughter goes around and says she's a free speech advocate, and she rehashes that bit, but that bit is blasé. They say those words on kids' shows these days. What is really under attack is the ability of us to have equal advocacy in this country. If we're going to allow black people and Muslims and Jewish people and gay people to stand up for their interests, then you need to allow white people and men and Christians to do the same. I don't have a problem when somebody criticizes me. They criticize white people all day. They say we're the only ones who can be racist. They say that we're the only ones who did slavery, and we're the only ones who did wars of conquest, and that's all BS. We're just the ones who get the blame for it. But let me tell you, I don't have a problem with them criticizing anybody, but everybody else should also be open to criticism. That is a substantive difference that I have with the Laura Loomers and Jack Posobiec's of this world. They say they won't do the rally because somebody is anti-Semitic, so there's a group that you can't criticize. I'm not going to go overboard on anybody. There's people who make all these issues, criticizing Muslims, criticizing men, criticizing Jews, their thing, but I will just say this. They are a powerful group. They have AIPAC. They have a major Israel lobby. They're 2% of the population, and they pretty much run Hollywood and brag about it. And they're the ones who are putting out this filthy propaganda.
Yeah. Very controversial, cutting edge.
CNN, all you guys who are out here, tell me who is in charge of the global conglomerates that own you, that own CBS, that own NBC. So I'm not bagging on any one person in particular. I'm just saying I have a big problem with people saying they're going to go to a free speech rally and then saying, oh wait, I don't like that speech, let me cancel. So I think that that's about all I've got to say about this issue. I think I've addressed everything that I wanted to address here. Make sure you guys come out on August 12th to the Unite the Right rally. Listen, everybody is welcome. I'm somebody,
I'm covering
if you are not anti-white, if you're not anti-male, I'll welcome you. Latinos, blacks, whoever, I'm okay with that. I just don't want to have a situation where a white genocide is enacted, where the only countries on earth that aren't allowed to have strong immigration laws are white countries. That doesn't make any sense to me. There's an entire continent for black people, there's an entire continent for Asian people, an entire continent for Latino people, and I love visiting those countries. They have great cultures, great people, they have many things to be proud of. But these liberals cannot try and take away my great culture and my great people.
all the media outlets are here.
Donald Trump, if you're listening to this, you see this flag behind me? I know you've hailed to the American flag. I want you to, in your bedroom at night, I want you to pull this up on that phone you're using to tweet, and I want you to hail this flag. Because these are the people who voted you into office. I'll stand by the American flag, but Donald Trump recognized the heartland of the South elected you into office. The white working class elected you into office. Don't forget about us. Build the wall and build it now. Thank you all for coming out.
Build the wall! 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 Build the wall!
Jason Kessler up there next to you is one of my big.
What's up, everybody? How are you? How are you today? Great to be in Washington, D.C. Thank you. My name is Baked Alaska. You might have heard of me. You can also call me Tim. So, oh yeah, how's Tony doing? That's a great question. So, if you guys didn't see, my bodyguard, actually, it's tragic. If you didn't see, he got stabbed 9 times, and it's been terrible. Everyone here and everyone online has been so supportive. All your prayers are appreciated so much. He is recovering. He's going to be okay. So thank you so much. Seriously. Yeah, thank you guys. I appreciate that. I see my fellow Kekastanis out there. Chatelet, my bros. Hell yeah, hell yeah. So I'm not really like a serious speaker, so don't expect me to be saying anything super smart. I'm more of a entertainer. I don't want to be a politician. That's what I tell people. Everyone wants me to be so politically correct these days. And I'm like, dude, I'm not trying to be a politician. I'm not trying to be a pundit. I'm not a journalist. I'm simply a man who loves his country, and I want great things to happen here. And I want us to be able to say whatever the fuck we want to say, okay? Can I get a hell yeah?
Hell yeah!
Can I get a hell yeah?
Hell yeah!
Hell yeah. Well, and honestly, I wanted to bring that up because one of the biggest reasons I supported Donald Trump was because he was against political correctness. And I want to speak to you guys today and remind you, I feel like we've lost our way a little bit. I feel like we've forgotten what brought us here. I remember during the election, anything that was politically correct, you know, all these people screaming racist at us, you know, we just deflected it all. You know, we had our hater blockers on and we just didn't pay attention to it. And now all of a sudden, everyone's getting butthurt. Everyone's afraid to be called racist, to be called anti-Semitic, to be called all these names. And I think it's garbage. I think it's absolutely garbage. And speaking of that, if you didn't see, I actually got I got suspended from Twitter for a week. Yeah, so Twitter suspended me for sending a gas chamber meme. I thought it was funny personally, but it was funny, right? Mike Enoch thought it was funny. But seriously, like, we should be able to make fun of whoever we want. You should. I get called a fag all day online, okay? People call me a manlet. People call me all sorts of stuff. Manlet nationalism now, exactly. But for real, like, every single group, every single ideology, we need to be able to make fun of them, to criticize them, to poke fun at them. If we cannot make fun of every single group in this country, we have completely lost our way, and it is despicable, honestly. So, I just have to say this, I have to get this off my chest. So I've been, you know, I don't want anyone to hate me here, but you know, I've got pride in who I am, in my identity as a white person. I just want to say that. And I think we are all better Americans if we take pride in who we are. If we all take pride in ourselves, not just white people. Everyone should be proud of who they are. Everybody, okay? And I've recently found it is one of my core values, and it makes life worth living for me. So, you know, I've had quite the journey. I don't know if you guys know, but I used to work at BuzzFeed. Like, boom, I know, it's shameful. It's very shameful. But for real, I've come a long way, and I'm really proud of who I am, and I just want to give an encouraging word to people out there that maybe are on the fence or afraid to come out public. Like, don't be afraid of who you are, and don't let the media, don't let your friends, don't let your, you know, academia, don't let them guilt you for being who you are. Don't let them guilt you for being a white male or for having white skin. That is bullshit, okay? Can I get a hell yeah?
Hell yeah!
Can I get a hell yeah?
Hell yeah!
Hell yeah. I love you. This is a great crowd. I love you guys. And thank you for showing up, by the way. Oh yeah, shout out to Brian Proctor. What's up, dude?
That's a lie.
Inner Heaven gang. But honestly, our rally was split into two. So everyone out here, give yourselves a hand. You guys are brave. These are the brave Americans right here. Thank you. And so this was, you know, we have been planning this, and I don't have a problem with anyone. I don't like to hold grudges. I don't like to be in fights. But when I saw the alt-right organized another rally at the exact same time, that is cowardly. That is incredibly cowardly. If they wanted to have their own event, Why didn't they have it at their own time, at their own location, in a different city? Thank you. Seriously, that is the epitome of a counter signal. That is exactly what they're doing. They're signaling against us. Not only that, they're competing against us. We would have had many more people, and we have so many people here. This is incredible. But that is what I don't like. And I told them, they are all welcome here. Any of the alt-right people, Jack, Laura, whatever, we are not disavowing anyone. We are not excluding anyone. Anyone is allowed at our free speech rally. Thank you. I also quickly wanted, before I wrap up here, I wanted to point out there's such an inconsistency that I just had to point out. You know, we love talking about free speech. We love talking about free speech. And I noticed the right wing, they love to criticize a certain ideology. But then when you criticize other ideologies, it's just so wrong for some reason. And I want to break down that paradigm for a second. So let me give you an example. Everyone on the right wing seems to agree that they don't really like Islam. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, exactly. So it's across the board. People dump on Islam all the time. They dump on Islam to the degree where they say, Muhammad was a homo, you guys are all goat fuckers, you're going to hell, like some crazy shit, honestly, it's kind of crazy.
He was a pedophile.
Yeah, like he was a pedophile, you know, and here's the thing, they have every right to do that, okay? They have every right to do that. But when I make minor critiques of Judaism, Christianity, or any other ideology, I should not be blacklisted from society. That is cowardly. We should be able to criticize every single ideology equally. And so I want you guys to use that. When someone comes after you and they say, oh no, you criticize Judaism, you're anti-Semitic, tell them, well, guess what? You're telling all these people they're goat fuckers, and they probably take their religion seriously. So we need to be able to equally criticize. That is the only way, people. That is the only way. Thank you. And that is not an easy thing to say, by the way. I hope you know. Like, I've been banned from Twitter. You know, if I wanted to take the easy way out, I could, you know, go to the alt-right stuff and just, you know, not follow the truth. But I really have to follow the truth in my heart and say what I believe. And I've seen an awakening lately. Have you guys seen it? Generation Z. Seriously, guys, Generation Z is so woke. It's amazing. There was this YouTube video you might have seen about refugees lately, and all the comments were so woke. It was so refreshing. And so I really have hope for humanity after seeing Generation Z. So, anyways, guys, I just want to end with saying freedom of speech is really, it's the single most important freedom we have in the United States. I have friends in the UK and in Canada that tell me people get arrested for criticizing certain ideologies, and that is sick. And we need to remember the sacrifices our founders made right here on this land. And we cannot take for granted the freedom of speech we have, and we must be able to say whatever we want to say, even if it's unpopular. And we should especially defend speech that is unpopular. So I just want to say thank you. I just want to say in closing, thank you guys so much from the bottom of my heart. So many of you guys have supported me. You've supported Tony. Thank you. And it's not an easy thing to do, and I appreciate you guys so much. God bless you guys, and God bless America. Thank you. Thank you.
Hey guys, so I already spoke, but we just received word from someone who was over at the other rally, the alt-right rally, right? And not to bash them or anything, but you know, they came into this with Mike Cernovich on Twitter, with all these big Twitter personalities promoting their rally. You know, Jack Posobiec promoting their rally, and the word is, from someone who was just at their rally, that our rally is over twice as big. Despite being blacklisted, despite people backing out, despite people disavowing this rally,
You guys are still patriots, you showed up, and that's awesome. So thank you to all of you for showing up to the original free speech rally. It's awesome. Thank you guys.
That's some great news, actually, and that's a perfect example of why you should never cuck. To get you nowhere. Cucking gets you nowhere. Say what you think what you say. So for starters, truth sounds a lot like hate to those who hate truth. And we are here because we love truth. We want to live in a more truthful society. We want to be able to speak our mind and talk about things that make us uncomfortable and talk about the issues that we're having in our society that our fellow citizens want to stick their head in the hole and ignore. All of you are extraordinarily brave today for coming out to support us. Many people here are not identitarians. They're not white nationalists. But they came here because they believe that the ability to speak and exchange an open dialogue of ideas is the only way we can achieve a better society than the one that we have inherited. So thank you for coming, thank you for being brave and coming out today. Now, I think I would do a great injustice to come to a free speech rally and simply talk about free speech. So I'm gonna say some radical shit.
Ooh, about to get spicy, folks.
Say some radical things here.
Yikes.
America was founded by white people. It was founded for white people.
Yikes.
America was not founded to be a multiracial, multicultural society. The founders were well aware of the importance that identity played in the makeup of a nation,
Partially,
and how
I can
fundamental
understand,
it was to the future progress and success of that people. The reason why our nation is where it is today is because of anti-dialogical forces. Individuals who were haters of truth. And what they did was they used tactics. They used the tactics that we've seen over the last year to shut us down. This is nothing new. This has been going on decade after decade after decade. The cultural Marxism that permeates every orifice of our society today is a result of this tyranny, of this hate for truth from petulant people who will not grow up and accept reality for what it is. Now, paradigms have histories. They don't simply emerge out of vacuums. We did not get here today. We did not get to the point where we have full-blown race riots in our streets and entire cities being burned to the ground. Just poof, out of nowhere, it just happened. No, there's a long history there. There's a history to that. The values of our nation have changed. They have changed drastically from what they originally were. Today, we value individualism, freedom, these abstractions to such a degree, to such a radical degree, where we stop considering what the freedoms we might desire as an individual, how those play out, and how those will affect future generations. I want to say one thing.
Nope, it's also for Latinas.
Fuck your freedom, give me responsibility. give me the responsibility to ensure that I hand to my children and grandchildren a society that is better than the one that has been given to me. Give me that responsibility.
Yeah, podium
You
would have
keep
been
your
nice.
selfish freedom. Keep that. Now, freedom itself isn't a horrible value.
Nathan Domingo or something like that.
There are certain aspects of freedom that are empowering, that actually ensure the progress of a society. Free speech is one of those exceptions, and excuse me, not exception. Free speech is one of those things, but there are other freedoms that are entirely harmful to a society. Globalism, the freedom of individuals to move about from one nation to another, is entirely destructive and something I stand against. We are people. We have identities that are very powerful to who we are and the way we see the world. We are not simply individuals walking around on this earth with no connection to anyone else. We have a connection not only to our family, but to our race, our culture, and our heritage. And that is something that is very, very powerful. That is something that is not going to change. Just like communism failed to understand human nature and the importance of incentives for people to produce, so too does cultural Marxism fail to take in human nature. It fails to take in the power that identity plays and the central role that it has in society. Right now, we are dealing with a crisis of identity. We in America and we in the West are having an identity crisis. To be or not to be? Are we going to choose to exist as a people? Are we going to choose to take our destiny into our hands and ensure that future generations have inherited a better world than we have received ourselves? That is what I am about. That is true progress. Not this, oh, let's see what the next taboo that we can liberate is. For entirely selfish reasons, regardless of how they affect society as a whole. That's what I care about. That's what I care about. I care about future generations. These people over here don't care about anybody but themselves and their status symbol. Shame on them. Shame on them. Shame on you! 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 This is a beautiful thing that we have started. Thank you all for being here. Free speech is a tool for us to move towards a better society. Use it, fight for it, and don't let anyone stop you from saying what you have to say. And if they come to use violence to shut them down, if they come to throw glass bottles at people and to throw rocks at people, then throw a fist back in their face.
Keep their high standards of civil discourse. They do this kind of thing far worse all the time. They oppose it because they see the assassination of Trump or the genocide of white people as a goal quite worthy of artistic promotion. Suggesting the depiction was indecent is ridiculous to them, and they would rather see that disruption take place at something they see as truly evil, like a church that won't perform gay marriages. Just as predictably, the right largely attack their own people over it as well. Not because they condone the violence depicted per se, but because it seems to be beneath the dignity of a conservative to make a nuisance of oneself on someone else's property, even if that someone else is the enemy. We tend to think the way to pursue political and social change is through discussion and debate. We prefer to win on the merits of our ideas and view leftist riots and revolutions as downright uncivilized behavior. The problem the honest conservative then faces, however, is that arguments, facts, decency, and righteousness mean nothing to our leftist rivals. If we were going to win on the merits of our ideas, there would be no such thing as a right wing, because everyone would be a right-winger due to the mere righteousness of our cause. Merit is meaningless to a communist, and so winning on with one is like bringing a knife to a gunfight. They will disrupt your play, they will riot in your streets, they will set fire to your buildings, and shovel countless innocent bodies into mass graves, all to avoid facing meritocratic competition. Violence and deception are his only weapons, and he uses them like a conservative uses books. So what conservative would adopt the tactics of a filthy communist? A conservative who is sick and tired of losing his country to people who have no standards and realizes that there will be no such thing as righteousness if he does not prevail in a conflict. So long as we render ourselves defenseless by adhering to the rules of civil discourse in a conflict with people who operate by the rules of warfare and espionage, we will lose 100% of the time. So long as we prefer to punch right and counter and virtue signal, rather, rather than coordinating to destroy our enemies, it is our enemies who will coordinate to destroy us.
I don't know who this is.
Sure, leftists protest like savages, and sure, that's despicable. Sure, leftists lie to gain political power, and sure, this makes them criminals of the worst sort. Sure, leftists riot, murder, and start revolutions, and sure, we prefer peace. You know what else leftists do? They win. At all costs and without regard for rules, morality, or dignity, they get what they want, and they get it at our expense. So at what point does the right accept that we are in some way compelled to be defined by our enemies? At what point do we realize that peace and meritocratic competition are no longer on our list of options? At what point do we begin physically removing Democrats and communists to establish and maintain the libertarian social order necessary for our desired meritocracy? If the answer is not now, then we might as well throw in the towel and forfeit to the communists today. We are losing massive ground each moment. Non-white immigration and breeding alone are rapidly diminishing what electoral majorities we have remaining. Jewish influence disarms us in the left's onslaught of identity politics. Our universities teach little more than the propaganda of our enemies to our children, and we are compelled to subsidize it all with our own earnings under penalty of imprisonment and death for refusal. Disrupting a play is the most civil thing that we should do to these vermin. During episode 318 of the Radical Agenda, I discussed a piece in Jacobite magazine titled "Political Violence is a Game the Right Can't Win." In it, David Hines explains that despite the American right's affinity for firearms and deep respect for soldiers and lawmen, we are no saint to fight the communists. The reason, he says, is that we lack the camaraderie and networking of our leftist counterparts. That networking and camaraderie is built up through activism. The unemployed losers we mock in between our productive efforts are not just screaming into the ether for no reason. They are building teams, figuring out who the leaders are, sizing up strengths and weaknesses, acquiring resources, and honing their propaganda to become efficient mechanisms of radicalization. Put simply, they are preparing for open warfare, while we prepare for structured competitions like debates and marksmanship. Either that changes, or not only will we lose, we will be scrubbed from the historical record. Inside of a generation, it will be as though we never existed, other than as some false historical narrative like Hitler's Germany. Pick one, or the communists will make the decision on your behalf.
afternoon. Well, it's so great to see so many defenders of liberty and defenders of our Constitution here unified today in support of free speech. And despite what some of you would like us to believe, our demonstration today is a demonstration of unity, not division, because we've gathered from across the political spectrum because we find common ground in our defense of free speech for everyone. For it is the freedom of speech that sits as the bedrock of our constitutional republic and our ability to be free, yet it is we the people exclusively that stand between the Constitution and its erosion. Ladies and gentlemen, the holistic infringement upon our right to free speech is specifically concerning to me as a high school junior who will be applying to college in the next few months, because there is nowhere in this country where infringement upon our right to free speech is more prevalent than on the campuses of our colleges and universities. We have public colleges and universities across this country that are supported by you, they're funded by you, and yet they continue to attempt to eradicate the values for which you stand, and it is wrong. And there's no doubt that academia in America has historically leaned left, but what we're seeing now is something far beyond political affiliation. Not only are colleges not supportive of students who are conservative, but they seek to silence those who are. And it was Benjamin Franklin who said, "Without freedom of thought, there can be no such thing as wisdom, and no such thing as public liberty without the freedom of speech." His perspective of the importance of the freedom of speech is still relevant today and drives resistance to the progressive takeover of colleges across this country. The left has progressively increased their stronghold over academia in America and are now increasingly close to eliminating whatever conservatism, free speech, and common sense is left in American academia. But we've gathered here today to pass a message that is passing through college campuses across this nation. Not so fast. The First Amendment to the Constitution established the rights of all citizens to the freedom of religion, the freedom of expression, and the freedom of speech. All distinct rights with their own respective benefits. Yet you cannot infringe upon one of these rights without infringing on every other right endowed to us by the First Amendment. Yet this just begins to explain the importance of having the courage and willingness to defend our constitutional liberties against those in both parties who seek to eliminate them. We're fortunate as Americans to have rights enshrined in our documents protecting us from government oppression that is seen throughout the world. However, the Constitution can only defend us as well as we defend it. And let's send a shouting message to the Democrats. Let's shout this so loud and so clear that even the left can understand it. Our rights do not come from them, they do not come from the government, but they are endowed by our Creator, and they are not up for debate. We recognize the blatant disregard for the Constitution displayed by many objectives in the progressive agenda is not a path in which our country should take. We recognize that the institutions educating the next generation of young Americans should practice the open-mindedness for which they claim to stand. We recognize the duty we have to future generations to preserve the rights we have been fortunate to have. And we recognize that our strength is in unity and not in division. September 12th, 2009. I was 9 years old, and many of you were young as well, but hopefully some of you remember it. That was the day when over 1 million concerned Americans took a stand on this very mall, and they said enough is enough, and the time for the right to rise is now and not a second too soon. Woo! You know, that was one day, but after that day, those courageous conservatives left a message ringing across this country. Can you hear us now? And this was the beginning of a political movement that led to the unified Republican government that we have in office today. But what allowed this movement to occur was their ability to be heard. And as George Washington once said, it is the freedom of speech. If the freedom of speech is taken away, then dumber and silent we may be led, like sheep to the slaughter. Those who object to the freedom of speech are the ones Washington was talking about. They are the ones using their First Amendment rights to advocate for the erosion of their First Amendment rights. And regardless of where you fall on this particular issue or where you fall on the political spectrum, please recognize this. It is because of courageous defenders of our liberty that everyone, liberals, conservatives, whatever Antifa is, everyone has the right to speak freely in this country. And you know what? As Americans, we can disagree on every political issue in the book, but find common ground in knowing in our minds and believing in our hearts that we live in the greatest country the world has ever known. Our nation is great not just due to the rights that we have, but the freedom we have to stand up for them. America is great not just due to the freedoms we have, but the courageous defenders of liberty eager to uphold them. And America is great not just due to the founding principles that have built this country, but the principles of liberty that continue to protect the individual today. And America is great because we have the right to speak up about what is not. We cannot surrender our right to free speech for the sake of political correctness, and we must do more to manifest this commitment. Yeah. We've seen this commitment from the American people in many ways. But most recently, this past November, when the American electorate faced what Ronald Reagan would call a time for choosing. We had to choose if we wanted to continue down the path of increasing the power of the federal government and its overreach into the lives of citizens. We had to choose if we wanted to continue the erosion of the Constitution and the idea of a constitutionally limited government. And we had to choose if we wanted more of the same empty political rhetoric that has failed the American people time and time again. And the American people spoke up and said, our answer is no, enough is enough, and we elected a president that will not sacrifice free speech for the sake of political correctness. But electing Donald Trump our president is not the victory of our fight to reclaim our country, but it simply gave us the opportunity to fight to reclaim our country. And earning that victory, that responsibility, now lies in the hands of President Trump, members of Congress, all other elected officials, and the American people collectively. And it is my hope for the future that my generation would come to the realization that we must defend our constitutional rights for our future. We must come to the realization that every slight infringement upon our right to free speech can ultimately lead to its diminishment. We must come to the realization that this country will soon be ours, and we must rise to the occasion and preserve all that is great about America and change what is not. However, we've all heard the stereotype of a millennial. What is it? What's the stereotype of a millennial? They're lazy, they're arrogant, and they're liberal.
The gay.
And you know what? That cycle is exacerbated by the liberal indoctrination that's seen in academic institutions across the nation. That cycle is exacerbated by liberal bullying that is seen on college campuses across this nation. College administrators tend to be liberal. College professors tend to be liberal. College students tend to be liberal. And colleges and universities tend to be liberal. And we also think of college students as having the tendency, the internal craving to be rebellious. And some people respond by doing drugs or drinking alcohol or committing crimes to be rebellious. But in 2017, the most effective way to be rebellious as a college student is to stand for liberty. A great way to be a rebel in college is to stand for common sense. The most effective way to be a rebel in college is to stand for the United States of America and the best interest of her people.
You guys see that Jew guy?
Ladies and gentlemen, from one concerned American to another, we cannot give up on our fight to preserve our Constitution and all that is great about America. We have a coming generation of young Americans that deserve the same rights and opportunities that we had. We have a government that must be reminded to act within the will of the people and the bounds of the Constitution. We have a nation which, in the words of Jefferson, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And we have a Creator overseeing all of this. And due to our venue this afternoon, I'd also like to mention the words of Lincoln, who was one of the greatest defenders of liberty in our nation's history. His loyalty to liberty was displayed when he said, "Don't interfere with anything in the Constitution. It must be maintained, for it is the only safeguard of our liberty. And not to Democrats alone do I make this appeal, but to all who love these great and true principles." Ladies and gentlemen, I am a Christian, constitutional, conservative Republican. That's who I am, and that's what I believe. But regardless of whether or not I agree with what you say, I will fight for the rest of my life for your right to say it. And I ask that everyone in attendance today and everyone across this nation be prepared to join that fight. And I will close with the words of our current president, who said, "This is our fight, but we can only get there together. We are one nation with one voice. We all bleed the same blood. We all salute the same great American flag, and we are all made by the same God." Ladies and gentlemen, that is why we are here today, and that is what we are fighting for. May we stand together, unified, in support of the greatest country that the world has ever known. God bless you all. May God continue to bless the United States of America. Thank you all very much.
All right, guys, the main event. It's Irma.
Hi, everyone. My name is Irma Hinojosa. So I was supposed to run today, but here I am. We are living in some dangerous times where freedom of speech has become a controversy, where people, not only on the left as expected, but people on the right have now spiraled into wanting controlled speech, wanting controlled freedom of expression and control of our memes. Anytime anyone on the right or left start to want to classify memes as hate speech, I'm going to be there to shut that down. Freedom of speech means defending all speech in all forms of expression, even when that form may hurt or offend feelings. All speech is protected, as long as it's not calling for violence. The moment we start being selective of who deserves freedom of speech is the moment we all become frauds.
Hell yeah.
The moment we lose everything we have been fighting for against the left. Controversial speech has never been such a hot topic of debate. I decided to keep my commitment and not walk away because my belief in protecting freedom of speech and standing up for it, even when I may receive backlash and even have people on the left and right slander me, is due to my immense loyalty in protecting our First Amendment right. I have to stand firm. I have to stand firm because I will not give censorship any room. I will not waver on freedom of speech. I have always been a staunch defender of this, and I am not about to stop for fear of receiving political backlash or for fear of being associated with certain people.
Hell yeah.
Sharing a platform with people I don't agree with is the epitome of what a freedom of speech rally should be.
Oh, hell yeah.
You know, my parents were legal immigrants, okay? My parents, they came to this country from Mexico. They had their citizenship when they had me. I am living proof that immigrants can assimilate to our Western culture. And it is my goal to guide Hispanics in the right direction. What would that say about my moral convictions if I run because I don't agree with someone's speech at a freedom of speech rally? I am not easily frightened. For the past year, I have received thousands of attacks, hate memes, really shitty hate memes coming from the left, and endless hate speech in all forms against me, and it's still happening for being a Latino for Trump. And that didn't stop me. If anything, I'm stronger because of it, and anything you throw my way, I will brush it off with a delicate swift of my hand. What is the point of free speech if we are talking to each other in this echo chamber about views and ideas that we have heard a million times? Listening and sharing a platform with opposing views will not magically change your values and morals. If you believe this, then you have a problem. As we have witnessed, it's not just the left that want to shut down opposing views. It's also people on the right. We can't let that happen. No matter how much you think those views are wrong, and no matter how much you don't agree with them, we can't let anybody stifle our freedom of speech right. We have to stand up against it. In the UK, the UK has already slowly lost its freedom of speech. They are not allowed to criticize Islam or Muslims, or they will go to prison. According to The Verge, a man in the UK has been arrested on charges inciting racial hatred on social media after he tweeted a Muslim demanding her to explain why there was attacks going on in Brussels, and he was arrested for this. His name was Matthew Doyle, a 46-year-old man arrested in the UK for demanding answers from Muslims. We can't have that in the United States. We can't have that. We must protect our First Amendment right.
Hell yeah, hell yeah.
This is how it starts. This is exactly how it starts, by a few people who don't understand what freedom of speech really means. When people don't understand what freedom of speech really means, that's when the globalists and government shills start to take that right away. They are already censoring us online. Why give them more room to do so? When does it end? Will we let that right be stripped until we find ourselves in a jail cell because we said that Muhammad was a pedophile? Until we find ourselves in solitary confinement because we tweeted out a meme that was just too spicy and offended just too many people? No. I would rather die than have that for America. If you can't handle the memes, if you can't handle the supposed hate speech, if you can't handle opposing views, then you don't belong on social media.
Hell yeah.
You don't belong.
Hell
Sorry,
yeah.
the dark corners of the interwebs are not for you, and it's best for you to sit at home in your little bubble, in your little safe space bubble where no one can hurt your feelings and where you can't see the written words and the memes to offend you. You need to be stronger. You need to toughen up. Now, I'm not saying don't be offended. I'm saying be offended. Being offended is a good thing. I'm saying I want you to be so offended that you're literally shaking and crying, because only then can you test how far you're willing to go. How far are you willing to defend freedom of speech when it's hitting you in the face and attacking you? What would you do? If someone offended you online and threw some hate speech at you, consider yourself lucky enough to have experienced freedom of speech at its finest yet darkest moments. Know that you can move on from it.
One man, one woman.
Yeah, you can move on from it being stronger, more powerful, instead of demanding that the whole world disavow your hate speech. We can't let that continue to happen. You need to be stronger than that and put up with the hate speech, put up with the hate memes, and just move on. Be strong. There are certain things that I will not waver on. Certain issues that no matter what kind of backlash and what kind of character assassination gets thrown my way, I will not back down. And that is in defending freedom of speech, in defending our freedoms as Americans. I will stand up and always speak the truth, no matter how much that truth will be hated. I will not cheat on my values. I will not cheat on my morals. I will stand strong and stand loyal to what is right, what is fair, in the name of honor and honoring my commitments. That is my right as an American. That is my duty as being this person with this platform, standing up and speaking, ready to defend it at all costs, to speak up for you and always stand up, ready to throw myself in the front lines, to report the truth, and ready to throw myself against the globalist wolves, ready to devour anyone ready to speak up. So give me freedoms as American. Give me freedom of expression. Give me my freedom of speech. And as Patrick Henry famously said, give me liberty or give me death.
Hell yeah!
Thank you guys.
Oh, hell yeah! Everybody press F for Irma. Irma.
All right,
She killed
who's
it.
next? Is it Mike Enoch? All right, let's do this.
There she is. There she is. This is hard to hold.
Yes, right? Thank you.
Must have
I guess
strong
I
arms.
just got cooked. Okay, yeah. How about you guys want to chant at commies a little bit here? How about you will not replace us? You will not replace us. 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 You will not replace us.
Hey guys.
You will not replace us.
That was tough. I'm glad you guys liked it. Yeah, so that was my speech. Freedom of speech, you guys. Thank you guys. Thanks.
What did 9-year-old
Glad you guys like
Aisha
it.
say to the Prophet
Love you
Muhammad on their
guys.
honeymoon? I've never done this before.
Yeah, I was
Before the
nervous.
recent election,
I
I
would
was
have
very
preferred a
much a
podium,
middle-of-the-road
but
anarchist.
it was good.
But it seems someone moved the dividing line between the left wing and the right wing in favor of idiocy. And now everyone who was not previously far left is alt-right, or at least alt-right. This is disingenuous, but it is the reality we now live in, and I am a realist.
So we're out here.
Realism is, after all, romanticism to those who are strong enough to worship things as they are. And I do. I wanted to sit on the fence, but the left pushed me off of the fence onto the right's lawn. So now I stand in front of the phalanx, pointing at windmills for the middle ground.
Yeah.
Despite the handful of organizations to whom I belong, I'm not here as a representative of any of them. I'm not here to speak for the Proud Boys, no more than I'm here to speak for the OTO, Spirit of Sanctum, Astrum Argentinium, the Church of the Subgenius, the Discordian Society, or the Golden Apple Corps. I am here as an individual to speak for myself, as is my right by divine providence as a man. My name is Matthew Lyons, and amongst other things, I am a scientific illuminist. I seek after truth with science as my filter, and as science is transcendent of political correctness, so am I. I believe we can all agree that cancer cells are alive, but are they worth more than the lives of the organisms they are a part of? Would they not die with the organism? Were they allowed to multiply? You could leave them be, they die and the organism dies with them, or kill them and save the organism. If you would go with the politically correct answer, that is, if you do not believe that the ends justify the means, then you are now the very same cancer to which I refer. I firmly believe that if there were production jobs easily accessible to inner city residents, then the disenfranchised minorities that are trapped in the socio-economic cycle of poverty would be able to break free of it. Dwelling on the surface of things isn't going to make any progress. We need to look at the source of our problems and work on the treatment of them to cause positive change. I wish prosperity for all of my countrymen, and for that we must all of us stick together, focusing on differences causes only schisms, discord, and division. To do so, I believe, is counterintuitive and counterproductive.
How many more pages you got, dude?
All of them. I firmly believe that by divine providence alone, man has the right to live by his own law, man has the right to eat as he will, man has the right to think as he will, and man has the right to love as he will. Man has the right to kill those who would thwart these rights. I believe... I'm sorry.
It's okay, we forgive you. We love you.
It is written, in the words of the man himself, Jesus Christ, according to the King James, Matthew 12, verse 30. He that is not with me is against me, and he that gathereth not with me scattereth abroad. Join or die. Now I'm sick and tired of the Antifa calling me names, but only one name has come to grow on me as I've researched its etymology. I don't care for its modern meaning as a political ideology or its bastardized postmodern meaning. Wrap it up. Behind us is the Lincoln Monument. You can't really see it from here, but resting under Lincoln's arms are fasces, one set of them under each of his hands. Fasces are an ancient and primitive symbol meaning strength through unity, taking the form of rods of birchwood wrapped around an axe. One piece of birch... What? What? What?
Yeah!
All right, thank you. So instead of giving another pie to free speech, I guess, yeah, great, we all love it. I'm actually gonna fucking use it. I'm gonna talk about what I think here. So now, freedom, the Constitution, liberty, it's all good stuff, but let's be honest, what's really facing our country today is systematic elimination of white people. It is displacement and genocide of the white race. That is what is facing us. And there's a number of different things that are assisting in this project. Now, some of you might have heard of something. You probably heard this spoken before by college professors, by people in the media. And, we know who those people are. Intellectual class. Oh, my God. Oh, sir. This little conspiracy theory, I like to call it a conspiracy theory, called white privilege. Has anybody ever heard of this? You've heard of the conspiracy theory of white privilege, right? What do we think about that? We all know what is behind the conspiracy theory of white privilege. It's anti-white. It is paving the way for white genocide and the elimination and violence against people of the white race. That is why people talk about white privilege. Now, there's an article in the Jewish Daily Forward, I think last week or the week before, by a Jew talking about the unbearable crime of talking about Jewish privilege. Now, he was very keenly aware of what Jewish privilege meant. When you talk about Jewish privilege, which is objectively provable, we can prove it. Who's in control of the Federal Reserve Bank? Who's in control of the media? Who's in control of our foreign policy? It's Jews. We know that it's Jews. Why do we go to war in the Middle East against our country's interests, against the interests of our race? Because of Jewish control, okay? Let's not fucking beat around the bush. I'm actually using my free speech rights here. And he was 100% sure that when he hears people talk about Jewish privilege, he knows what that means. Now, he didn't have the consistency, the intellectual honesty to speak up about the lie, the conspiracy theory of white privilege being taught at universities, which is meant to build up a stigma, build up hatred, and potentially pave the way for violence against white people. That is what it's for. And everybody understands that, okay? And now I know there's a lot of other white people around here that aren't part of our thing, that aren't here with us, but I want you to all understand something. When you hear the word diversity, what does the word diversity mean? Anti-white. When you're white and you work for a corporation, or you work for the government, or you work for anything, and that institution that you work for decides we're going to institute a diversity policy, if you're white, what does that mean? It means you're next. That's what it means. And you're white and you hear me, you know it's true. You know it's true. Diversity means you're next, white people. Your head's on the chopping block. So yeah, we're here to stand up for white people. That's why I came out. I mean, I thank you for the First Amendment rights. That was very nice of you. But I'm going to use it to stand up for white people. So we know white privilege, diversity, these are coded words. These are words that are used against us. They're meant to attack us, demoralize us, and make us not want to stand up for ourselves. But we're done with that. We see through the coded language. We see through the programming. And we're not going to be replaced. This was our country. The Founding Fathers objectively founded this country for white people. It's in our founding documents. And, what other people is expected? There's no other people that I can think of that's expected to open their borders to the entire world, and this is supposed to be a great and noble thing. I mean, we talk a lot about illegal immigration, but let's be honest, legal immigration is part of the problem too. I mean, who else is supposed to be asked to legally and morally displace themselves? What other group of people is asked to do this? There isn't one. No other group is asked to do this, and it's in the United States and it's in Europe. We're being, invaded, we're being colonized, both legally and illegal, and if we don't start seeing ourselves as a group, as a race together that are in this, that are under attack together, we're gonna die. And look, if you're in a war and you generals refuse to send your troops to the actual battlefield where it's actually being fought, if you're fighting for liberty, freedom, the Constitution, and free speech, we're gonna use it. We're not gonna let anybody take it away from us, but the real battle is being fought on the grounds of standing up for white people, because that's what's under attack. And you're not going to have any of these nice liberties and freedoms when white people are 30%, 20%. That's all out the window, because these freedoms only exist in white nations. These freedoms are the ideas of white men and white philosophy. That's where this comes from. Other people want to come and take advantage of it, and believe me, I get it. I get why you'd want to come here. Believe me, I understand. I understand why you'd want to leave where you're from and come here. But it's not our responsibility that where you're from sucks. I'm sorry. It's not our problem. This is our country, Europe, America. These are ours. We took them. Hey, maybe it wasn't fair, but tell me what fucking rule we broke. Sorry for winning. Sorry. Sorry, not sorry. But yeah, so that's what it is. The battlefield is on the plane of white identity. That's where we're sending our troops to fight against the enemy that's attacking us there. We're not going to go and be distracted by side things here and side things there. This is about the survival of the white race, the survival of the white nations, and without that, the freedoms that we hold dear, the Constitution, liberty, that's all going to go away. And we all know it. And so that's really all I have. Thanks, everybody. I know it's getting hot and maybe it's been a long afternoon, but here's Richard. All right, the man himself, James Bond.
I really can't tell you how inspired I am by all of you coming out. There has been an awakening, and we've all felt it. There has been a change in our hearts and our minds. The fact is, raise your hand if you are under the age of 30 years old. Yeah. All right. I'll let the plane pass. I absolutely put faith in young people. Young people are not caught in the thought prison of their parents. Indeed, when I meet young people who are coming to the alt-right for the first time over the past 3 months, I am amazed at how serious they are. I'm amazed at how inspired they are. I'm amazed at how radical they are. So thank all of you. And please give a big round of applause to Colton, who did this. Colton is 19 years old. Colton is 19 and he set up this rally. He invited all of these great people. Colton also, when these losers and freaks who are having some other, oh, we're a bunch of liars rally, when they went against him, when they tried to shut down this rally, when they tried to ruin it, he said, fuck you. He stood up against those people. If every white American had the balls of Colton, this battle would already have been won. So thank you, Colton. So let's talk about free speech. What does free speech mean when we have nothing to say? In the current year, we have been disintegrated into 140 characters, into an Instagram filter, into your favorite unboxing video YouTube artist. Free speech, for people who don't really believe in it, effectively means arguments over one's favorite shampoo. It means arguments over tax rates, where some radical libertarian might ask for 20% while the socialists ask for 40%. Free speech means nothing when one has nothing to say. Free speech is only meaningful. The rubber only hits the road when you say something that matters, when you say something that's powerful, when you say something that threatens the system, when you say something that's radically truthful, when you say something that shatters the lies, that shatters those in power, that is the time when free speech really matters. And that is why we are here today. The fact is, there's something a bit self-congratulatory when we talk about free speech. I would imagine if you interviewed every single American, at least 99% would say, yeah, I support free speech. Oh yeah, I support free speech, yeah. So you have your right to your opinion, man. Yeah, you have your right to your opinion. We don't have some Stalin-like figure sitting up in a room somewhere, twirling his mustache and slashing out newspaper headlines, or putting a revolver to the head of a journalist and telling him what to write. We don't live in that world. That world is very easy to criticize, that caricature of communism or fascism. That world is very easy to criticize precisely because we don't live in it. We face a very different challenge. On the one hand, we do face something like that repressive dictator of folklore, but we don't actually face it in terms of the government. We face it in terms of Silicon Valley. We face it in terms of the Zuck, not so much in terms of Uncle Joe. We face it in terms of digital platforms that are kicking us off. We face it in terms of social networks that are suppressing free expression. And we also face it in terms of shrill little girls who try to attack art. But that's not ultimately the real challenge. The real challenge is within ourselves. We are the ultimate censors of free speech. We aren't willing to be honest even when we're alone. There is a black cloud that hangs over whites around the world. You can call that black cloud whatever you want, white guilt. You could call it the legacy of slavery. You could call it the Holocaust. You could call it fascism. You could call it systematic racism. You could use whatever terminology you want. But we have a black cloud that hangs over us. This sense of guilt, this sense that we cannot be truthful even when we're talking to ourselves. This sense we can't be truthful when we're talking to our friends and family. And certainly we can't be truthful when we speak in public. That Stalin, that repressive dictator is ultimately the person in our mind, the person telling us not to speak, the person stamping out the truth, the person destroying who we are. The most radical thing one can say in public is not stop the war, although I might actually agree with people who say stop the war, by the way. But those people aren't being kicked off Twitter. The most radical thing one could say is not feed the poor, although I might also agree with that sentiment. Feed the poor. Those people aren't being viciously attacked by the gutter punks who call themselves Antifa.
Fuck Antifa! Yeah. Pussies! Yeah.
The most radical thing anyone could say, and I guess for you young people, if you really want to shock your liberal boomer parents, the most radical thing for anyone to say is, I am white. My life has meaning. My life has dignity. I am part of a family. I will fight for my children's future. That is what they want to suppress. That's why we're going to say it. I was actually reading a little bit about the Magna Carta this past week, and many Americans will look back upon the Magna Carta as if it's the Declaration of Independence written in Middle English, and that it has claims for free speech for all, and God-given rights, and equality, and global unity, and all that stuff. That is a total myth. That document, which is looked upon, rightly in many ways, as a foundation of our liberties, is a bit of a myth. It was actually annulled a few days after it was enacted. The Magna Carta also includes a couple of lines that might very well be considered hate speech in the current year. The Magna Carta might be a myth, but it actually teaches something. It teaches us something about the nature of free speech and the nature of reality. The Magna Carta was not a universal document. No one believed that free speech is granted to you by God. Indeed, God's representative on earth annulled the document. The Magna Carta was an expression of rebellious barons who, through unity, achieved power and took their rights from King John. In this way, our right to speak is intrinsically linked with our ability to be powerful, with our ability to stand for ourselves and not stand for others. No free speech is ever guaranteed by a deity. Free speech is guaranteed by our willingness to be powerful and our willingness to stand strong. Our willingness to act like those barons who challenged King John. In this way, free speech is intrinsically linked with the right to bear arms. Machiavelli and others thought republicanism was utterly impossible without the citizen soldier. And there is no question that the right to bear arms is intrinsically linked with the militia. This is actually a foreign concept to us in 2017. It's all fine and good to talk about gun rights and we want to protect ourselves and our family. I absolutely support that. But let's also be real. Let's also think about what we've lost. We aren't citizen soldiers, we aren't Republicans. We are, in a way, helpless citizens of a state that often seems omnipotent. They're black helicopters as well. Watch out for this.
Hey, what's up?
Alex Jones. When you look at that, say that live leak footage of soldiers who were in a Apache helicopter gunning down Iraqis as if they were playing a video game, you are in a way looking through the eyes of God. This state feels all-powerful. We're helpless victims who hope that we might maintain our free speech as if it were just given to us. We need to find a way out of this situation. We need to find a way out of this sense of atomization, hopelessness, and weakness. We need to find a way to become who we are, to affirm who we are, and to achieve power together so that we can have real rights. Rights to be ourselves. Rights to live in a safe space. Rights to guarantee the future for our grandchildren and great-grandchildren. We need to find a way out of this helplessness. And and Americanism lost its enemy. It lost its boogeyman. And it began to feel that history was over. Now you could see that as some kind of America, fuck yeah, triumphalism. But that would be to misunderstand it. The end of history means the end of meaning. It means that there's nothing else outside of consumer products. There's nothing else outside of individualism. The wars, if we fight them, they're not for a people. They're not even for power. They're to turn Iraqis into consumerist slaves. They're turned Iraqis into as nihilistic and as death-ridden as we are. That is the end of history. The end of history is utter nothingness, and meaninglessness. The end of history is that you do not exist. You have no history. You have no future. You are an individual bouncing around on the internet, bouncing around between various consumer choices and social lifestyles and sexual orientations. You are utterly fragmented until you're fragmented into utter nothingnessness. That is the end of history. And that is what we are fighting for. We aren't fighting for freedom. We aren't fighting for the Constitution. We aren't fighting to liberate some foreign people who will probably rise up against us 5 years after we leave. We are fundamentally fighting for meaning in our lives. We are fundamentally fighting to be part of something that is bigger than ourselves. We are fighting to be part of a family together. We are fighting to be strong again, to be beautiful again. We are fighting to be powerful again in a sea of weakness and hopelessness. That is our battle. Our greatest enemies will tell us that there's nothing to fight for, that it's all over. All you have to do is go to the voting booth or go purchase some cute new product or watch some cute new video. We are going to fight for meaning. We are going to start here.
You will not replace us!
All right, Nathan, come up here. Thank you all for coming. This is the beginning. Let's meet a year from now. Let's have 10,000 people. Look, I've been doing this for a long time, and a couple of years ago, I thought a goal like that would be utterly impossible. Now I know that that is totally possible. That is doable. Let's 5 years from now, let's have 100,000 people or 1 million people out in the mall. Let's march for us. Let's march for our rights.
Hates white people. Detective, let your friend, you fucking white supremacists.
All right. Okay, sure. Go for it.
Duterte hates all.
You will not replace us. Thanks for coming out, everyone. Thank you. Charlottesville, before we go, August 12th, right? Yes. August 12th, Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville, Virginia. I just want to say something really quick. Charlottesville, Virginia, was it late April or early May? May, a couple of weeks ago. That was an amazing event, and that was done completely privately. That was not publicly announced, and we had 200 people out there, amazing aesthetics, amazing people. We are going to do something even bigger, even more outlandish, and even greater than what we did last May. That's going to be August 12th. So everyone here, come out to Charlottesville. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'll be there. Nathan, Pax, Baked Alaska, Mike Enoch. I could go on. It's going to be an amazing event, so come out. But thank you for coming out today. It's really meaningful. Thank you.
USA! 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 USA!
No, I'm not going to that rally. Hey guys. Alright guys, hey. I am double streaming here, so it's been like extremely difficult for me to do so. Trying to cover this event, trying to show you guys what what other points of view, what they believe, what they wanted to say. So I'm here covering this, and I didn't want to break my commitment. So I gave my freedom of speech rally, and that's what I came here to do, to support freedom of speech. And even though I don't agree with a lot of what was said today, I still support their right to say it. Absolutely support their right to say it. So I'm going to pick up my bag here, so hold on a second, guys.
Hey, come back to your pants today.
Alright guys, I'm going to set you guys down for a second, and then we can talk some more about what you guys thought of the event. I am like extremely thirsty.
Hey, back up! Hey, back up! Back up! Back up! Why am I'm the one? Back up. Why is he the bad guy? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, oh, he's being aggressive. You? You're lucky they're here, buddy.
Alright guys.
You did see that. You're both at fault.
Whoa. Alright. So it looks like everybody's dispersing now. I'm gonna go find some shade. So it was just some guys. Somebody threw a sandwich at somebody and they just got upset. And frankly, the security kind of overreacted, but almost stepped on my phone actually. That would have been tragic.
Nice to meet you, bud. I get a picture with you?
Yeah, let's do it, man.
Awesome.
What are you up
We
to?
have Augustus here. Thank you for your speech.
Thank you for your speech.
That was a really good speech.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I love your speech.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming out.
Thank you. Yeah, we can talk. I think they want to take a picture with you. All right, guys. So what did you guys think? What did you guys think of this freedom of speech rally or something else, right? You know, they have the right to say what they want to say. You know, they have the right to want to preserve their race. I don't see a problem with wanting to preserve the race. I do see a problem with the white ethno-state, clearly, since I am not white. But you know, I will support their freedom of expression, freedom of speech. Yeah, there was a lot of different points of view. You know, not everybody was saying the same exact thing. Not everybody was saying had the same views. You know, there were some people who were pro-Lincoln, some people who were against Lincoln. You know, there was a lot of views here today. So I think it's really important to have these rallies and to have different freedom of expression, and we can't let that be shut down. You know, we have to allow these different views to be expressed. So that's why I'm here today. I wanted to show you guys. You know, it's controversial, right? This was controversial. You know, I took a risk coming here. I took a risk from all of you wanting to paint me as somebody who supports everything that was being said today, which I don't. You know, I wanted to cover this event and I wanted to show you guys what other people are saying. So I am for freedom of speech, as you guys know. Completely pro freedom of speech, no matter what that speech is. You guys know that I will support that and I will stand behind it, and I will not let that be suppressed by any means. You know, I will stand strong in my convictions. I will stand strong, and I will not, like I said, I will not cheat on my morals. I will not cheat on my values. And one of my core values is believing in freedom of speech, and I have always done that. If you guys who have followed me since the beginning of the election, you guys would know. You guys would know that everything that I have said, everything that I have always stood for, you know, is representative of my actions and representative of me standing up for freedom of speech. So I will never stop that. So, you know, thank you guys for your support, and thank you, you know, for standing by me and defending me against some of these people trying to slander me. I really love you guys, and I think you guys know who I am, know what I stand for. You have followed me. You have seen everything that I have done for this movement, everything that I have done for Trump and for the United States of America, and that's what I'm all about. You know, I have stood strong. So I will not let that right be suppressed, and that's what happens when you don't agree with speech and other people are trying to shut it down. You don't have to agree with it, and that's what a lot of people need to understand. You don't have to agree with this speech. Don't agree with it. It's fine, but don't try to shut it down, and don't slander other people who are covering the event and who are sharing a platform. You know, sharing a platform with somebody doesn't mean that you agree with everything they say, especially at a freedom of speech rally. This is freedom of speech. So thank you guys. We can all agree to disagree, exactly. Thank you guys for having my back and for defending me against these people. You know, I hate to see it. It really bums me out. I hate to see all of this division cost. I don't know why it's happening. I don't know who exactly is guiding these people to start this division. I don't know, but I am against that. You know, I am all for unity, as I have always said, and you guys will see. I have this tweet up that says where we have a picture of everyone. You know, in California we don't have this problem. Maybe in other states people are a little bit more afraid, but in California we all stood together. Like I said, identitarians, we had boomers, we had Proud Boys, we had all factions of the right who stood together fighting, uniting against Sharia law and uniting against these people. So uniting against the left, you know, in Berkeley, we fought and we united against them and we beat them. So thank you guys. I'm gonna head out here now. Thank you guys so much for your support. It means the world to me. You know that I will always stand true. I will always stand up for what is fair, what is right. I may not always agree with speech, but I will defend that speech. I will defend your right to say that speech. So I'll always defend that right. So thank you guys. I love you guys. So I'll see you next time. So out here, I'll probably stream later or stream tomorrow, but you guys, I'm gonna keep up what I'm doing. I'm gonna keep going to all of these rallies, freedom of speech rallies, pro-Trump rallies, covering these protests, covering riots. So I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing, and thank you guys so much for your support. I love you guys. So unity is strength. So, all right, guys. I love you guys. YouTube, you guys are awesome. So I just did the Periscope, so I'm gonna get going here. I love you guys, so thank you so much for your support. Thank you so much for standing by me and standing strong. I love you guys, so thank you so much. I'll see you guys.